Good morning and welcome to the Capital Gang. I am Oscar Semoyamsoke. This morning with a bevy of topics, as Moses Kalule would say, who is still in the studio. I have in the studio a long-lost Edgar Tabaro. And you know when Edgar turns up, the noise he comes with. You're most welcome back to the Capital Gang. Where have you been?
Did you say background noise? Happy dear listeners, and thank you, Oscar. I've been in the Republic of Burundi, where I was establishing a branch office of KTA Advocates.
Okay.
I went there on the invitation of the head of state there, so deepening the cooperation.
And the gains.
We call it, no. It's it's deepening.
Yeah.
Deepening, widening, and smoothening the East African integration process.
Right.
So I'm happy to be back. I only returned to come and exercise my civic responsibilities that I take seriously. I voted in the presidential parliamentary elections. I voted for LC5. And on Tuesday, I'll turn up again to vote for Salim Uhuru, Chairman, Kampala Central.
Okay. So you're most welcome back to Gang.
Thank you,
Edgar Tabaro. In the studio, the ever optimistic Joseph Ochieno is in the studio. Most welcome to Gang, Joseph Ochieno.
I told you so. It's absolutely important that this country must be optimistic. But of course, the optimism with UPC is the future. It's building fantastic. The future is us, and it's good to see Edgar.
This nomination and
who's president?
You are President Jim McKenna.
Jim McKenna is your president. You guys in NRA. But look ahead. No, UPC is fantastic, and Oscar.
Ofana should wait and I introduce him first before he goes on the attack.
Indeed. That is typical him. He didn't see it coming. But he's a good brother of mine. Now he's honorable. He can now be bossy. But congratulations. Well, Oscar, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm delighted that I've gone.
He makes a good point, though, that your party president is now off completely. The minister who was in the NRM is also off. You have how many members of parliament? 2?
No, we're going to, we expect to have about 14. But for the moment, up to next week, with holding all factors constant, we expect to gain a formal extra one that will take us to 13, plus one who has played around. So about 14 members will be holding UPC party cards in the next assembly. That makes us the third largest political party. And if you consider that NRA is not a political party and NUP is there, then we are effectively the third largest political party, and so therefore the political organization of repute. But in terms of Betty and Jimmy, it's unfortunate, but I mean they've served in those houses for a bit of time, but they don't represent UPC's interests. But whatever happens, just unfortunate that Betty, in going to Lira, has made us lose Oyam 1 seat, and just unfortunate that my good friend Maxwell, in leaving Maruzi to go to a patch, has made us lose another seat. But that's not a subject for today's conversation. UPC is on the rise. We just need to be able to sort out this year, make sure that we sort out an official president who can challenge Ofona Pondo's president on issues, and then the future will be the Republic of Uganda, in which all of us come together to rebuild.
Moses Berohanga is here and he's consulting with figures, so we shall see about the 13 and 14 MPs that you have. I last checked, you had something like 6 or 7 or 8. 10. 10. Okay.
UPC.
Yeah, of course. They moved from 10. They moved from 9 in the current parliament to 10. But the good thing is, challenging Jimmy. But all those members of parliament are from Jimmy's backyard, not from your backyard. So please, it is.
And there is no derogatory, is it?
It is Jimmy delivering those, not you.
Right.
I know you have tea once in a while, but
have you been on the campaign trail as well?
Thank you, Oscar. It's been a very long week for us newsmen and women, we who get out there to gather information and churn it to the public. Myself and the producer of this show, Patricia, we always meet ourselves in the in the trenches of real journalism, and it's a pleasure being here. But also, most importantly, this week I celebrated my 32nd birthday. So my friends, the gangsters, I welcome your gifts.
Congratulations, Derek Wandera. You hadn't realized how such a young man you are, but
I didn't know he was Jay-Z. I'm turning 50 in November, so I may soon be representing the elderly.
Edgar Tabaro,
we are being exposed, me and you.
You're soon addressing Ofonopondo as Honorable Ofonopondo. So, Honorable Ofonopondo, you're most welcome to the Capital Gang this morning.
Thank you, Oscar.
I've not seen you look so relaxed as of today.
You are having won my seat.
Yeah.
Having got the president to win his seat with increased percentage, and NRM rounding off all the regions of Uganda.
Has made you relax.
Hilarious.
Have you got some coins left in the pocket?
NRM never.
Talk about Ofonopondo.
Even when he's modest, I always have some money.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have a guest. He's a regular guest, especially when we want to talk about business. Mr. John Kakungulu Walugembe, you're most welcome.
Thank you,
to
Oscar.
the Capital Gang. Yes,
it's a pleasure. Again. So it's a pleasure joining the Capital Gang and discussing issues that deal with the business world, the economy, and the financial sector in general.
I saw you cruising in, driving on into Capital Radio, and I saw the gains you're protecting.
Kakungulu Walugembe are imperial names.
and these are just men things to ask you about.
These are the grandchildren of the collaborators.
So John Kakungulu Walugembe, is that motor vehicle? Is it electric? It sounded really, it was purring and.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's a good one. So I felt let's get that out of the way. But John Kakungulu Walugembe, you in business, when these Ofonopondos were winning, they have bad manners. How do you switch off the internet for 5 days? And then you wish the economy to go sweet. How can that happen? So what did we lose in the time they've switched off the internet?
Okay, so for some time we've been encouraging business people, particularly after COVID, to go digital. And in fact, what you see is that many businesses are now operating in a cashless manner. If you go to petrol stations, if you go to businesses, most people don't pay cash, using cash anymore. So that, in our view, has actually been a good thing. Because
this is IFRIS as well.
There's also IFRIS, so it's basically pushing the economy towards more formality. You're creating a track record and so on and so forth. So when we got to, there was a first letter that indicated that the internet would be switched off around the 6th or 7th of January, and it was swiftly denied. And so we got the confidence that this wouldn't happen. And then on the 13th of January, the internet was switched off with a 2-hour notice. Now, a study has been done to look at what countries lose when they switch off the internet. And it has been found that for highly connected nations, they lose between $23 million to $25 million per 10 million people every time they switch off the internet. And for countries that are slightly less digitized, they can lose roughly between $10 to $15 million per 10 million people. Now, that's now a general study, but if you look at the daily transactions that go through mobile money, about 16 million transactions, between 425 to 525 billion per day going through mobile money alone. If you look at what the telecoms have reported as losses since the internet was switched off, something around 24 billion lost as data costs, particularly because people are not able to use data and so on. So these are huge figures, and one may wonder, why are we paying this cost? And from the business perspective, just to make it clear, we are not saying the internet shouldn't be switched off. Sometimes we think that we should be more transparent with regard to the threat. Because we all want to know what is the justification. You may not give us the details, but at the very least you need to condition us to appreciate the level of threat.
These days we even want the details.
So that we accept the pain, because it's us at the end of the day who are going to bear this pain. But if it's blanket, it's a security issue, then it kind of is something we can't go further.
So URA also was not getting money. Because if you think about on this table we have Moses
URA was very smart, to
Derek
be honest.
Wandera, myself, we get salaries,
Yes.
and we're supposed to do a return. Oh, no, Moses doesn't pay tax. But Wandera and myself...
He's an industrialist. Mega milk, mega
You're
yogurt.
a government person. Do you
From
pay
my
tax?
salary, I pay tax.
Okay. And it's supposed to be remitted.
Of 4.9 million. Month.
Okay.
Oh, he earns very big, 4.9 million. He's distorting
That's 30%.
the per capita income here.
So, John, the deadline for that pay
No,
is
URA
15th of the month.
was very smart. And in fact, because what URA did is that it asked taxpayers to file and pay. The return is due on the 15th.
Yes.
But then they pushed it to the 12th without giving a reason. So I think as soon as they got information that
You can't be penalized if you don't pay on 12th, because the day is 15th. And they cannot tell you by radio that we've changed to 12th.
No, the issue,
Yeah.
No, the issue with URA is that URA is kind of a lot to itself many times. So you can't... It's not like you'll say, I won't pay this or I won't pay that. It will just sit on your ledger and then that's it.
No, we shall pay when they open.
So my view, therefore, is that if, and I'm looking at two scenarios, if the intelligence was direct and it showed the threat to the security of the country and that there would be harm to the economy over a long period of time, then probably it was justified to close down the internet. But it should have been handled differently. We should have been conditioned to appreciate the threat. We should have been given time to adjust. There are people that were stuck in their homes without money.
Yes.
They couldn't transact, they couldn't buy food, they couldn't buy fuel. So this was completely unnecessary. So I think that is the first scenario. The second scenario is that there's also a possibility that this has just become a ritual. That during elections, the internet is switched off, whether or not there's an imminent kind of threat. If that is the situation, then it would be most unfortunate. But my appeal to the people in the security services and so on, and we see it a lot, even during COVID, you would find that the health people would come, make announcements without thinking about the impact this would have on the economy, So my view is that maybe we should be more holistic in terms of how we handle these things. Have a cross-ministerial team that includes different experts so that before a certain decision is taken, you appreciate the impact it will have on the general kind of economy. So for me, I think that what our security agencies and the communication experts have as a task is to see how do we if we think that there are people who threaten the well-being of Ugandans, how do we nab them or how do we bring them to book without necessarily making other Ugandans pay the cost? Because I was asking myself, I have these employees to pay. My employees have been seated for all this long. Who is going to help me to pay in this period? Because somehow I have to look for money to pay. So in other words, I'm almost subsidizing government for its decisions. So we are not opposed, and that we have to make clear, we're not opposed to shutdown, but I think it should have been handled better. But also the assignment that
the decision makers
have.
Yourself when you say you're not opposed.
No, we are not. We can't. Because because the other issue is, let's assume that there was a credible threat and that the economy would be disturbed for 3 months or 6 months.
But we don't know. That's your argument.
This is my argument. At this point, we don't know, so we can't really say how. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's assume that intelligence was precise and they were sure that the country was going to be disrupted for 6 months, and they made that decision. Fine. Let's close the internet for a week or two in order to allow people to go back to work and recover their losses. Then that, for me, would be a fair decision. But at this point, we can't know what was the basis for that decision, and therefore we hope that whatever decision they took was in our best interest.
Yeah. The money lost by the telecoms, it is claimed something in trillions.
Yes, definitely.
Over the 5 days.
Of course, because if
over 5 days,
24 billion.
No, that's the data. Those are the data losses specifically. But now, if you look at the mobile money transactions and so on, it's much kind of bigger. Now, that's just the telecoms.
But
if you look at the general,
72 hours.
Edgar, are you suggesting 24 billion? Like you're saying that's small money?
No, but even now,
the tone, is that the tone you're employing?
Well, it's weighed against the threats that he's talking about,
which he doesn't know.
But I mean,
but just finish.
Okay, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, we are looking at the data losses, we are looking at other losses in terms of environment, but there are other social costs. You know, there are people, there are retirees who get money from abroad, remittances, to pay for their health care. They couldn't withdraw money. There are health units that use medical software to look at the history of their patients and so on. So there were other things that in the economy, the other costs, other social and economic costs that are yet to be computed. But in my opinion, if the threat was credible and if was harm going to happen to the economy long term, then probably they were justified. But they should have handled the whole situation in a neater fashion in terms of conditioning people, allowing them to prepare so that, and we also appreciate that, okay, we are paying this price because we are trying to deter such and such an eventuality.
Thank you. Derek Wandera, you're the journalist here and a Gen Z. So, what have we lost? What did we lose by the internet shutdown?
Apart from his Gen Z trauma around social media.
Thank you. I just mentioned my age when you were out. Yeah. So, I think this matter has been taken to court. 2 Ugandans have sued the Uganda Communications Commission, Airtel, and MTN. And they contend that formally there should have been a statutory instrument issued to effect the same, and this wasn't made. At least that's what.
Statutory instrument.
Yeah, maybe that's what the
policy directive from the minister.
That's what the legal provisions.
Even that doesn't exist,
and even that Edgar is trying to suggest wasn't issued. There was just only a statement made by UCC. Which these Ugandans, and I know an avalanche of them, believe in them that this was illegal. So they have taken on the government through UCC, they have taken on MTN and Airtel. What did we lose? We can only calculate those numbers when the country has certainly settled down. I feel even the figures that we have right now are not satisfactory. And cannot even, like, for instance, there was a lot of emotional trauma that Ugandans went through, not just in terms of money, but also emotions as people. There are people who just died of heart attack because they knew even if they got a very bad issue, they got a very bad medical issue, they wouldn't get any help. So they went into trauma and whatever. So all those can be equated when the country certainly settles down on this, but this is my own assessment, and I had a very long conversation with Moses in his office this week, and we're assessing some of these things: the health, the security, and whatever risks that came with this election. I think, and I feel that the government is continuously going to suffer from what it's suffering now, which is paranoia and fear for the unknown. Because if politicians, if we, and I know President Museveni is the biggest politician that we ever have in this country, like one who is so astute that you cannot dispute about anything to do the politics. But if a politician steps to the podium and throws a jargon throws a slang that suggests in your own assessment as a security risk, and you put the entire country to a standstill, then there's so many godfathers of politics that are going to question your decisions, which I think that I forget his name. John points to that probably there was not enough assessment, and I had a very long conversation again with Moses, and I said, when do we arrive at a place where we think that the country is going to plunge into a very bad security issue? When do we come about it? For instance, in the history of Uganda, at least there has been a lot more political unrest post an election than there has been pre. Probably you will point out to 2021 after the arrest of Kyagulanyi, where more than 56 people were shot dead on the streets. But most of these unrests have come. We talk about 2016, which was walk to work. You can talk about the others and stuff. In my own assessment, our intelligence system needs a lot of equipping. We need to do a lot in terms of skilling our intelligence system, in terms of facilitating them retooling, skilling, and all that. Because in most cases, if we have our country coming to a place where we are quashing our own intelligence reports and even arresting generals, then we have everything to worry about our intelligence system. So if this was fed on a wrong intelligence, now Uganda is suffering the consequences. And these consequences have come because of just one or two political jargons that were thrown.
Joseph, as Fanopondo pointed out to you, we are becoming extinct. The other day I saw a photograph, Minister of ICT of Rwanda, seated with our friend Chris Barumus.
Yes.
Chris Barumus, and you could see...
Chris is a toddler. He's in the category of Tabaro. He's a young man.
But in comparison with that young Minister of ICT, you could see that young minister may not be inclined to switch off the internet. And Chris would be inclined to switch off the internet. These are the zones, you know. If you have an old man like Joseph Ochieno, he says, what is internet? Did I give it to you anyway? So,
you know, that's interesting. And in any case, actually, the disclaimer is Chris is a friend. He's a fantastic guy. But if you link the Chris Rwanda stuff, it's actually even beyond the personalities. It's actually what was coming out of the Rwandan ICT rep. You could actually see that they're completely in touch. But another disclaimer about this age thing to make young Wandera just think about a bit. UPC was the first political party to have a website, and you can imagine we were in exile, wrapped up, and the chief of that was
big of discussion on UPC net. My real think tank.
Was old Milton. So some of these things is possibly not necessarily about age, and so I think all right. No, it's extremely unfortunate, Oscar. This thing is not about intelligence. This thing is about impunity. This thing is about some sense of paranoia. This thing is about some kind of sense of entitlement by a regime that thinks they can do anything with the citizens of this country and nobody's going to do an iota of a thing. And so for that reason, I really hope that whatever the outcome of the legal thing, and I'm not quite sure much will be out of it, but it's basically to make a point. These guys are actually terribly arrogant, to the extent that they could do it the manner in which they did, which John is saying. 2 hours. For me, actually, I learned about it when I could see the thing rolling, saying connecting. I was busy actually trying to write a brief document, post my Al Jazeera show. I was actually looking to something else, preparing, and in any case, that if anything else happened, possibly it was going to be the following day. So the cost implications, which is actually not equated, is huge. The health implication is huge. And Ojamofono, you're going to the National Assembly. I really hope you're going to add value to to the assembly, so that you look at these things. I'm not quite sure the nature of our economy, considering the Chris Baramosi versus his Rwandan counterpart. That in Uganda we really have the capacity. No, do we necessarily have the interest to look at the implications of these things? The economic implication, take, as already suggested, the social implications. But the evening before, I was actually mentoring, guiding some young Ugandans whom I just met the few weeks before. And it was about education. And one young lady was talking with a sister, and she was preparing for an exam the following day. So this is online. So whether or not Nyombi and his group thought about it, that actually the day before somebody may be doing an international exam or doing some work on online, I generally don't know. So the implications is huge.
Yeah.
The politics of it affected the people who are preparing to do their campaigning, knowing very well that they're going to use WhatsApp and other social media things. I don't know. And then, of course, the legal implications. I don't know. I have now loaded internet 3 times. There are people who loaded. You're talking about this, whether or not MTN is going to claw back the money. What about the ordinary Ugandans who loaded that money for 3-day internet and went off? Is someone going to be able to say that, look, okay, you MTN guys, you better make sure that you pay back the guys?
Thank you, Joseph.
Nobody's
Let's go to Edgar here.
Yeah.
You make good points. Edgar, two points to you, because you've been living outside Uganda. The report, household research.
By the Burundi had an election last year in May.
Did they switch off?
No.
Can you imagine that?
And it was quiet. You see, he's acting shocked.
Yeah.
And he's one of the most informed Ugandans. It was that calm.
the UK household survey showed that 30% of their country fellows are lonely. So and of that 30%, the lonely people, it seemed about 27% of them only had the internet for company. He's no longer lonely over there. But so
I get very lonely in Nagongera, by the way.
That's the one factor. Then the second one is, if you are conducting democratic elections, and at the same time undemocratically switch off the internet, what a contrast.
I'm glad you talked about the UK. I'm more comfortable drawing comparisons and lessons from the UK than from the country you're mentioning, because we are talking about liberal democracies here, and making attempts at deepening democracy in Uganda, deepening pluralism. Ours is a nascent democracy. Let's not make pretenses about it. It's a nascent democracy, and nascent democracies have their deep challenges. Sometimes a fledgling democracy, we may make 10 steps forward, sometimes we make some other 2 steps backwards, but nevertheless,
or 8 backwards,
or whatever, depending on the situation, on the circumstances. But
don't worry, Moses is here. He'll present all the positives with statistics as well.
He's paid for it. I'm from civil society. I'm a lawyer. I'm a businessman, and all we yearn for is a better Uganda. I told you earlier, I'm turning 50 this year, and I'm not going to shy from giving my views and contributing to the debate to bettering Uganda. There was a Uganda before us. I believe there will be a Uganda much after we are all gone. Everyone here was born after independence. There are people who struggled.
So back to the topic.
The topic. The UK, the liberal democracy that we should be very much benchmarking ourselves against. When it comes to matters of national security, they are very well defined in the UK, and one of the leading jurists or judges for that matter in the UK, the Lord Denning, had an opportunity to debate, House of Lords, they say speech or a debate, the House of the highest court of appeal in the UK were part of the House of Lords. So when they give a judgment there, they either say speech or debate. So Lord Denning, one of the greatest jurists the Commonwealth has ever lived, says national security cannot be defined by the ordinary people. It is within the realm of the executive. Completely in the realm of the executive. However, it must be made in good faith. So the question is, was the switching off in good faith? That is the question we should be asking ourselves. Now, whether yes or no, that will depend on one's opinion. But there are certain facts that we can't run away from. in the build-up to the election, there were certain positions that were made publicly. One of the candidates was stating that clearly, regardless of the outcome of the announcement by the Electoral Commission, they are going to take to street protests and cause regime change. Cause what? Regime change. We had those words. Now, obviously, when the likes of Moses stand up to speak, they'll say unprincipled regime change. Now, as to whether or not that is unprincipled is not for us to debate, but clearly, once that position was stated, we saw the direction where this was headed. Now, turning off the internet, the UK had such a challenge during the riots in 2011 under Cameroon. You were in the UK at the time, Mr. Cheno. You had, I think, returned, and if I recall, you were a Labour Party activist in one of those councils there. So
I continue to be.
You continue to be a Labour.
To have an interest.
You remember those riots?
To have an interest, yes.
You remember those riots, and the British security was overstretched.
At the time, they were losing elections.
Mind you, they had to make a decision on interrupting BlackBerry services. You remember? Because they were calling it copycat what? Rioting. And they were using BlackBerry and Twitter at the time. So the British government used their discretion to slow it down, and using also the same platforms to carry out arrests. I think they were connected to CCTV cameras and whatever. So there's always
they linked up with court as well.
Yes, the court started sitting on Saturday and Sundays. Yes,
even
quick judgments. Yes,
and they got quick judgments, and so it was all legal.
It was yeah. So in this case, really,
that's part of the argument you're making,
and that is the point I'm trying to make. That as long as this was done in good faith, and there was a real threat to national security, that the country could go into a lockdown because of riots.
Since you've gone with that example, let me keep you there. You had the Tony Blair attacking, is it Iraq and so on?
Yes.
And then later, when they found out that they had no basis for those attacks, you have seen proceedings against them.
Yeah, but you see, in this case,
so if you relate it back here, if we find out that there's not good faith,
there's not good.
Do you think there'll be some kind of
but in this case, the stated positions were very clear, and the build up to the election, there were youth that were being trained for violence, and let us not run away from this. President Museveni has never declined an invitation to do political violence. That is something he learned in Mozambique. If you're going to invite him to do violence,
what's your source for saying people are being trained for political violence?
I mean, it was all over. It was all over the media, and I'm coming to that. You know, in fluid situations like this, where people misuse AI and fake news, it's very important. It's incumbent upon those who are accountable to us in terms of security of persons and property, to act in the best interests of you and I, to keep the country together, and also law enforcement. It's incumbent upon the sitting government to enforce law and order. Okay. But it must be
in good faith.
There's a right in good faith, and secondly, lawful orders and lawful what? Authority.
Now
so if you go outside that ambit of lawful orders and lawful authority, and in particular where you have people...
Barrow has remembered that he's a lawyer. Thank you.
Thank you.
You've
so
given
much,
Ofonopono a good preamble. But I should tell listeners, we are live on TikTok. Tune in there and watch the Capital Gang. The Capital Radio or Capital Gang has no hand in switching off these streams. And Edgar Tabari says, as long as they are switched off in good faith,
which we don't know,
you deal, you'll manage. But you can go to TikTok if you can. If not, wait for the recording. Ofonopono, yes. What did we lose when we were in online lockdown?
I have not calculated, I have not read any reports that has made assessment on the financials, on economic, or even the social trauma Wandera is talking about.
Or medical trauma.
Or medical trauma. There was once, for a long time, there was no internet. And the life went on.
That is the MB for the elderly.
There was a time when there was no internet. There were no cars. There were no colored television. And life went on normally. We enjoyed life.
And we are here.
Humanity enjoyed life. Therefore, this infiltration with technology, that because there's time you don't have data on account of that you don't have money, you can't buy data. Don't you live? You live. That's a temporary inconvenience, not permanent, and therefore it is not fatal. We shall recover. What did we gain by switching off the internet? The state gained a higher ground to maintain security, to maintain stability, to maintain tranquility, which is now making us recover whatever losses much faster and quicker. And therefore, for me, there should be no reason to cry. For the lawyers who have gone to court, or Ugandans who have gone to court, that's precisely what our constitution says, that if you are aggrieved, whether fair or not, go to court. The courts will tell us whether they are right, they have a basis for those complaints. And if there are awards that they are looking for, they will probably obtain those awards. But to pretend that we did not know, even as ordinary people, much less the state apparatus, that we did not know the threats, is being disingenuous by the elites especially, who have had 4 bouts of elections that nearly paralyzed the country. 2011, we got paralyzed for 3 years because we took the liberal line. Those other jurisdictions, you have talked about Burundi or even Rwanda, nobody there can dare threaten the state. Nobody there can dare touch a police officer on duty. Here, politicians, on account of being candidates, being agents of candidates, being activists, disregard every law. Now, if you disregard every law, why should you invoke the protection of the law? Why? One of the reasons Uganda is stable is that we have tamed the security services. The only indisciplined group in Uganda today, the biggest indisciplined group, are the civilians. Especially politicians, particularly during elections. Once people are nominated for offices, they think they are untouchable. Oscar,
you are going there.
Yes, Oscar, is it normal or is it even common sense for a presidential candidate who the state has given police officers himself to come into body contact with other people? Because when you have been given those police officers, if you find obstacle, it should those police officers to clear for you the obstacle by talking to their colleagues on the other side, not you. You don't go pushing police officers. Now, if you want to pretend as if these things don't exist, then you are going to face it tough, because NRM is not going to blink an eye, especially under President Museveni. And there are people who make mistakes. There are people who make mistakes, who think that Museveni is an individual. Museveni is now a national system. Yes, Museveni is now a national system for stability, for transformation, for progress. Of course we make mistakes, and that's why I associate myself with John Walugembe, that we ought to have come clearer, the government ought to have come clearer, Nyombe Tembo or the minister or the police spokesperson, to say, because of security concerns, people are going to coordinate using technology, especially digital technology, people who are going to manufacture stories, manufacture images. You remember there was a time when people brought images from Central African Republic, streets burning, encouraging. We are going to, they don't need to give details. And for me, I agree with the Warugembe and Tabaru. We ought to have done it smarter. But even if we had done that, knowing the toxic political environment where people tell the liberate lies, you know, he has come back to Parliament. There's one member of Parliament from Tunga Modea who, when he was in the Parliament, he made it his speciality to conjure stories about ministers, for example. He never proved a single case.
Is reformed.
He has returned
as an independent.
Now, if you people want to hide, we wish you well, but I don't think we should hide our heads that there was no threat. You can say probably the threat was exaggerated. Nowhere in the world,
possibly,
nowhere in the world does intelligence share its intelligence with the general population. The intelligence is given to on the basis of they need to know. They need to know. If you knew how many threats, small and big, that are curtailed before they happen, if you know the forces that are neutralized before they happen, you wouldn't be speaking the way we are speaking.
But isn't it true that it is those big honchos as well who told us that there's been a fake intelligence and went ahead and arrested their own ranks?
That does not mean that there's no credible intelligence. The reason the country has moved on in stability for the last 40 years is because much of the intelligence have been accurate, have been credible. That does not mean that there are no instances where bad actors take advantage of internal weakness to do mischief.
All internal.
And the fact that they were arrested not by you, but by the state itself, it means that the state...
Or not by information from him.
Sometimes there's interagency rivalry.
Yes. So
no,
I didn't ask you, please, and you have nothing to tell me, you Wandera. Please.
He has a lot to tell you, elderly
MP.
But I protected you. Please continue.
He spoke.
Yeah.
I listened.
You
think
continue
you are
speaking
sense because I chose to listen to you? Let me make my submission. So, those people who were arrested.
But don't go to Parliament like that.
We are going. I'm going. If I get people like you and Wandera, it will be tough. No. You are not going to tell me the style in which I'm going to debate.
I agree with you.
Either here or in that Parliament.
I agree.
It will depend. Do you know why cars have gears and different trades of tires to deal with different terrain? And my age, 64. Is of age of Ntondo. There's nothing I have.
First finish off.
So
I have a break coming up, then we shall tackle the Ntondo.
The reason those people were arrested, they are not by the ordinary people. It was by the state itself. That means that the state is alive to the fact that sometimes mischief can take place, and that's why there are avenues for remedy. And so for me, I am glad the states curtailed that threat.
Moses Perahanga, what did we lose by going into online lockdown?
We gained. We didn't lose. Because you're being a bit narrow and also myopic. Because look at the post-election experience in Tanzania. Now, if you asked what did they gain or lose, was it a gain or loss? It was a loss because of those riots and so forth. If you look at the events in Kenya recently, as a result of riots, which were easily instigated and manipulated during using internet, Kenya was in a loss. So, for Uganda not to have avoided such, which were being planned, so it was a gain, not a loss. You can look at the current financial, I didn't send this data, I didn't communicate so and so. Fine, too good. But at least you are alive. The country is not on fire, like some people are planning as a result of the information gathered. So, as the Edgar was saying, yes, it was done in good faith. If the procedural way was not followed, fine, okay, that's a mistake. But for the bigger good, the bigger picture, it was a good for Uganda. It was in our interest. It was in the interest of all Ugandans for the country to not to be set on fire because we had a lot of intelligence from what, and those people telling us they come. You see, Ugandans love their country. They might disagree with you politically, but if you go and call them and say let's do this, they will come and report. Yes, they disagree. If I said I disagree with Edgar politically, but if I go and say because I disagree, you go and kill him. Somebody say, "Hey, Edgar, somebody is telling me this." So the people think that being political also means they can use those young people to do other things. They were telling them to do many things, and well, some people have gone to court. We shall prove our case as a government to show that what can be released out. Because the people are there to tell you what they don't want to disclose who said you ABCD, but the people were coming telling us what their seniors are planning, and we say, okay, if you're planning ABCD, all these things is vote Kakume Vera. That's the fact that was there were something else was being planned around that what to do. So it was done in a good faith for the security of the country. If the procedure was not followed according to Edgar, who is a lawyer, too bad. But the bigger picture was to save the country from what we saw in our neighborhood recently. So and Uganda now is safe. So
at some point, Moses Biarahanga, will there be a presentation on the reason so that we believe the good faith?
We don't need to.
Will there be accountability? The president will address it. The president will address it. When you say that we don't need to, that's the impunity.
No, it's not impunity. It's not impunity.
If you're, one day you and I talked about your farmhand, and that man was measuring wheelbarrows instead of weight, and then he really had good faith.
Yeah.
And when he explained to you, you told him that there's a better way of measuring fodder instead of counting wheelbarrows.
As Ofono explained, that not all the cases you have to explain the intelligence you have received, and it doesn't appear elsewhere in the world. It doesn't happen like that way elsewhere in the world. But as I said,
in the multi-party dispensation on the floor of Parliament, the leader of the opposition can call upon the leader of government business to make a presentation. All the ministers responsible for security.
Yeah. Okay, that can be done, but at the same time, the whoever represents will also measure the presentation according to what they need to know.
And that's
fair enough. Disclose everything.
But now it's supposed to.
Let him finish.
It's a postmortem, not a what?
Edgar, I agree with you, but whatever is being presented out on the floor of Parliament or in any other settlement, it will also be measured in how much you need to disclose. You cannot say so and so told me this and the people are there on the street. So this one we were told ABCD. So it has to be measured, but it will still be in the same line that it was done in the interest of security of the country, of all Ugandans.
You know, Moses, that there are legal structures for even that measurement. You just don't say I'm not saying anything because it's measured. There are even legal structures for that.
True. Well, Edgar is here will advise on the law, but at the point I'm raising, Oscar, is that what was done in good faith, or in respect to the information which the state received from those the misleaders who was misleading the young other people. They were coming and disclosing to us what was going on. And there are many people there who are still there who tell us what they're planning to do, and the security takes its measures.
Yeah. Okay. So Derek and Joseph.
Just a rejoinder. In 2001, remember we had the election violence in 2001, and there was a committee of Parliament chaired by now retired Justice Nshimye Sebuturo. Nshimye, the one of the Supreme Court, he was chairperson of that committee where he made certain recommendations. And I remember the then Minister for Security, Muruli Mukasa, came and gave a statement and even mentioned a country that they named as an enemy state that was sponsoring what? So it's within the law, and I don't know why we don't follow Westminster style of governance. The opposition or even independents can, or any other member of parliament can hold the government to account.
Derek, let's start with Derek here, and then Joseph.
Honorable almost jumped out of his skin, but it is expected. I just wanted to ask one question to OO, and I think it's what we are raising here, that he points to the fact that there are very many small and big cartels that have been controlled in terms of intelligence and stuff like that. My question to him was, wouldn't it only be prudent that after all these cartels have been dealt with, can't government give us a report in form of post-mortem, really, for us to gain that government confidence, public confidence in the government? And that's the question I was asking him before he jumped out of his skin.
That's jumped out of his skin is your definition. No. He was okay. But Joseph, you're on micro. Hold on, Edgar. Hold on, you present it. Joseph, you're on.
I said much earlier, this is our country, and it's not going to go anywhere. And nobody, thankfully, is going to go away with it, wherever they might think they might want to take it. We love this country. We are totally committed to this country. On this table, I am the longest serving campaigner around issues of pluralism, democracy, and commitment and defense of our country. Moses and Honorable Ofonopondo Esquire, my brother. All we are saying is we just want to do things. No, we just
your microphone is on its own.
And you normally like this return thing, but we'll come back to that at an appropriate moment. All we want is a sense of civility, a sense of responsibility. We want our nation to grow. For Moses' regime, we want some kind of justification for our children and grandchildren that you guys went to Luwero and broke the system and broke our country for nothing, and that out of that we've learned some lessons, regardless of whatever it was, that we're now leading a civil administration. That we even want to talk about Burundi. I think for me is cheek. Considering that I am the Ugandan that I am, we should be better than what we are. Moses, you've been into these things. All we're saying is that, look, leading to elections, as a matter of responsibility and civility, have some humility. Let the minister responsible say that, you guys, we've got information, we've got intelligence, we've got concerns. You citizens, we know you're going to be impacted. This happened under previous UPC administrations. Fantastic, not even UK. Look, we expect, there are certain concerns. So as a precaution, we want to do.
Sometimes
ABC.
You forget what really happened with UPC and the Pandagaris, and that used to be
the Pandagari was actually Mr. Museveni and his team, and it was a terrible
Let's
thing.
Stop for a quick break. Welcome back from the break. It's a noisy break. Lots of discussion. Let me have Ofonopondo. Ofonopondo, let me give you a couple of minutes, then Edgar a couple of minutes, then John will close out this topic.
No, I just wanted to remind the gangsters that have had these incidences before, a number of them. Let me start with our deployment in Somalia, 207, I think, 206, thereabout. Dr. Kiongo was the Minister of Defense, and he gave a thorough expression, first of all, to the opposition, then led by Professor Ogenga Latigo, and then they went to the floor of the House. And you remember in that debate, Ogenga Latigo, as the official leader of opposition, supported the deployment and was castigated by the outside groups of FDC. They thought they had been compromised. When we deployed in Congo under Operation Shuja, the president himself did a classified in a camera or parliament. And there's a rule in parliament, under the rules of procedure, where such things can be briefed to the entire committee, to the entire house, or a select committee, and they simply go back to parliament and they tell their colleagues, they report that a satisfactory explanation has been given. Right. And under the rules of parliament, by the way, matters discussed in camera, nobody can talk about it outside. So this is something we have been doing before. Yes, you have raised, I believe, probably this parliament before the close in May, or even the one I'm going through, we can raise these matters and somebody will come and explain. But I don't want to get people to get the impression that because procedures were not followed neatly, and we have said this. You remember I even argued with the Honorable Nyambitembo here. He said the way you make this presentation, the explanation is not convincing or done clumsily. And this is not the first time government is doing certain things clumsily. We would want a better run government, especially on matters of such big.
Thank you.
And the same thing we did with the biometric system. You remember when they said it can't fail, and you remember I was almost going for the Jaguar on the Bukenya. I said even planes they take off and in half a minute come down. How can you say it can't fail?
Trump.
So we need,
the American president's plane came back.
Yeah, we need a better explanation.
That's true. And Edgar, your 2 minutes.
Good faith. I keep asking myself across the political divide.
And I copied something here because we'd forget it for you from Joseph Otieno here. A sense of sensibility and civility.
Yes, a sense of sensibility and civility.
When Moses says, no, we don't have to tell you.
No, this is what I'm saying. Persons in our space, civil society, persons the intelligentsia, we should be calling out our leaders and hold them accountable. We are not going to fold our hands or throw our hands up in the air in surrender. For us to deepen democracy, for us to deepen better governance in this country, we have to call these guys to order. Then, again, in relation to good faith, particularly for the opposition, on the position who have been at the receiving end of some of these excesses, like resulting in death, I've not seen, death is actionable as a cause of action in court. You can sue. But over time, I don't see these people engaging courts in remedying or compensating victims of violence. And
What's the record of the courts?
I do go to the courts. I have every confidence in the courts, and the recent nomination of Justice Asia is one of the finest decisions. He's a bridge builder. Listen,
let's stick to what.
Yes. I'm telling you, the courts are functional.
It's not on the
we
topic.
have robust. Listen to me. I engage with the courts.
Edgar,
Otieno, you engage with the courts, and I've given you advice on some of your court matters and why they are being delayed. But you don't take my advice. We have robust courts. We have robust remedies.
Yes.
Yes, but
in
I conclude my cases in 1 year.
Starter, the next one, Moses. In conclusion, John Kakungu, don't have, Moses will come back. In
conclusion, I want to say that as the business community, again, we are not opposed to the closure, but should have been done in a smarter way. And maybe our government should take these 5 years to come up with sophisticated ICT tools that can hold people to account without necessarily making the broader population to pay the price. Then, of course, in a democracy, the issues around transparency, accountability are extremely important. I don't know if you have an intelligence committee in parliament like the US, but the US Senate has an intelligence committee. So the intelligence committee is required to present whatever evidence they have to this committee so that the representatives of the people can also have input. Otherwise, you cannot have some people seated somewhere making critical decisions, and there's no one who can look through and say, okay, this is valid, this is not valid. You can't just say intelligence can't be shared.
Or let him finish.
Has this intelligence been presented to that committee? No.
Not yet.
Will that
not this particular one.
Yes.
But they have been presented other matters.
We hope that they'll receive.
But in principle, they should. So, and also we shouldn't say, oh, the US did it, therefore we should do it. The UK did it. These countries are also, no, this, we can't benchmark the wrongs. You can't say, oh, the pastor has taken alcohol, or the pastor has married the third wife, therefore it is correct. No.
What do you have against marriage?
No, I'm simply saying, let's benchmark the right things, and then the wrong ones you can. And so my appeal to the persons in our ICT architecture, let them be ahead of the criminals. Let them come up with tools. If you look at the Chinese firewall, for instance, it allows people to keep working, but when you put certain things, like when you go to China and you start putting TWINAMASIKO, those things don't show up. So why don't we spend time also trying to ensure that we allow ordinary people to go about their business? Yeah, but you can, money, we can pay whatever amount. But Moses, we've lost a lot of money because of this closure. What if we look at opportunity cost? No.
Thank you.
Let us not operate in darkness. So anyway, the principle is let's use ICT tools to fight the criminals as opposed to switching off everything.
Generally,
every 5 years,
affecting online sales, online businesses. So I want to thank you very much, John Kakungulu Walugembe, for always turning up when we invite you and commenting on the business community. And we feel the pain. So let's go to the next topic, beginning with Moses, and you can even squeeze in previous comments you had. 71%, President Museveni, not even you predicted that he would win.
I did.
71%.
In writing.
Where did you write it?
You read my articles. And many, even a day before, that 13th, I had a recording which was played in many radios across the country. And my prediction was they're going to win with 70% at the back. So
and what was your basis for that prediction?
Because of the mobilization we had carried out, which was very thorough. Because you see, the last election, for instance, if you compare it with this one, the one, meaning the one of 2021, we're getting out of COVID. Especially in urban areas where people have to earn income to survive, they must pay rent, they must buy food, they must pay for water, and so on and so forth. As opposed to the rural areas where a person doesn't pay rent, sometimes they don't buy food. If they buy some few, but the rest is still under lockdown. So we're under lockdown. So the economic conditions are a bit different. Many companies had laid off workers. Others were paying half a salary. Others were not working at all. Even in the informal sector, the landlords were demanding rent. For them, not telling them that we're under lockdown. So the situation was different. Now, today, the situation in these 5 years is much, much different. We introduced socio-economic programs in the rural areas and the urban areas, like PDM. So far, we have reached 3.4 million households under PDM, having so far dispersed 3.7 trillion under PDM. The economy is booming. You see, if you look at it, even at the entire world, the elections which took place around 2021, 2020, incumbents lost. Uganda NRM is very popular to have won during that time. So this time it was expected to be much better. Here, if you look at Kampala, for instance, we made a lot of penetration in these socio-economic groups. There's the street vendors, the people who sell in Tony Mukanga, people who sell cooked food at night, in the evening. There are about 8,000 to 9,000 of them. I have all their names and their telephone numbers. We recorded them. We reached out to them. We reached out to the security guards, private security guards. There are about 70,000 in the Kampala and Wakiso. I met about 6,000 of them and assured them. In fact, in our manifesto on page 84, we mentioned them that we are going to get to work for them, to see how to help them in their situations. I met some of them here in Kampala. We met a lot of socio-economic groups penetrating to these groups. You have heard about the ghetto structures. The other day I was saying something yesterday that one of the ghetto leaders won in Kisenyi as a road councillor to KCCA, defeating Serunjoji, who was I think at one time Serunjoji was a division mayor for Central. So you can see the empowering of those ghetto structures. We have been skilling youth here in Kampala, for instance. About 70,000 have been skilled. We have reached out to border groups and so forth, to the garages and so socio-economic. You see, mobilizing
Well, whilst you're still on microphone, Moses,
in a city like Kampala,
was asking you, Moses. You know, with this shutdown, imagine a PDM recipient who has just stocked day-old chicks. They are required to send chick poo to the
those are minor issues. On issue of internet shutdown, Uganda has lived without internet. You tell me people, you see, the losses we're talking about it would have been worse if you look at what Tanzania lost as a result of those riots. You quantify it in terms of money. And you see, and then you compare with what Uganda is saying. You say, yes, it was bad. In Kenya, it is a riot. So please don't compare that. Yes, we had to do it in the interest of security. Chiamba fe. It was good for Uganda. So what we can come here and say we lost money, fine. We would have lost life. Because we lost money, we didn't lose lives.
You're going to have a lot of time explaining that along those lines and forcing this down to us at Chiamba.
People understand it. It was in the interest of Uganda.
I hope they understand.
It was in the interest of Uganda. Those who don't understand.
Buganda. Come back to Buganda.
So in Buganda, in the last election, 2021, Bobi Wine was ahead of us by 900,000 votes.
Ahead of the president. Yes.
This time around it was only 49,000 votes in the whole of Uganda, if you sum it up. So for us, we did a lot of penetration. And I kept telling you here that last time, out of that 900,000, he defeated us with in Uganda last time, 500,000 of it was within Kampala and Wakiso alone. But the rest of outside Kampala and Wakiso was 400,000. And I will tell you that we are going to recover it, and we have recovered it. In fact, if you look at Kampala, as Uganda minus Kampala and Wakiso, we beat Bobi Wine in terms of numbers. In terms of numbers, by about 100,000. So.
And what about the low voter turnout?
And this I predicted it. I wrote about it. I kept saying it here on Capital. Katana will never believe me. I told you that because of our, if you look at parliamentary, because this was 3 elections in one. If you look at parliament, out of 499 directly elected seats, that is the 353 direct seats and the 146 members of the women MPs, total of 499. NRM had candidates in all of them, 100%. NUP had candidates only 58% of the constituencies before other people like Warukagas came out. So they had left 42% to NRM to win hands-on. Why didn't they have candidates there? Because people, by the time Ofondo comes up saying I'm going to stand, he first gauges that can I win? So those people were just saying it was just a good opinion poll that but the fact you have failed to raise candidates to stand for in your party in those constituencies around the country.
It is true that when you kept saying it. Measure. But could it have affected voter turnout as well?
It's because a measure.
Even last Thursday, the voter turnout was very, very poor.
Well, voter turnout this time was 53% against the other time 59%. The issues could be different, but for the people who are opposed to us, they didn't have support across the country, which would give them a win. They had some people who, I mean, when I say support, I don't say there was zero. They had some supporters around the country, but not enough to make you win in a constituency, to make you win in a district, to make you win in the whole country. If you look at the local government, at the local government level, the way we just had the LOC5 elections the other day, out of 146 districts and cities, NRM had candidates in each one of them. I think some even had unopposed. NUP had only candidates in 49 of them. Now, what do you expect if you have only candidates in 49 districts and you cannot win all of the 49? You can only win maybe a few of them, like Kampala.
Okay.
Now, if you go below at the LOC3 level, which is coming out, I think, soon, which is still ahead, out of 2,191 sub-counties in Uganda, NUP has candidates in only 28% of those seats. The rest, they are not there. So that's a good opinion poll that you are not there. You can't force it. So whoever didn't see that NRM was going to win are poor analysts, didn't see a bigger picture. Maybe they were just looking at some here in Kampala because the NUP was everywhere in terms of representation, in terms of candidates. But if you look at the entire country, Anybody who has had that capacity to look at the entire country could tell you that these people are just going nowhere.
Ofono, what explains the 71% wins, including Buganda wins?
Well, I think addressing concerns of the people, major concerns. You remember in 96, President Museveni got only 11% in Arua. 11%. In Gulu, it was 13%. Why? The war was raging on. Kony was doing ambushes, burning buses, burning goods trucks. We didn't have that tarmac road yet. From Karoma to Nebi to Arua. Today, the war is done, not there. The road goes up to South Sudan through Koboko. I think addressing those concerns made NRM and President Museveni gain ground. In the north, currently, the north is surrounded by unstable Congo and South Sudan. If you go to hospitals in Kitgum, in Gulu, in Arua, in Koboko, you will find there, you can check, you will find there South Sudan government soldiers, SPLM in opposition soldiers, who have bullets stuck in their bodies. I've been there. I found one with 8 bullets, and has been advised that some of the bullets should be left in the body because removing could be sure death. Now, these people see these refugees running with household items on their heads, and they say, even if I don't have much food on my table, I'd rather keep the peace. So, first of all, addressing those issues. While we complain about poverty, in this election, MPs will tell you they used on average 500 million.
You're one of the MPs.
Yes, MPs will tell you. No, the MPs of the constituencies will tell you. And then you say, the economy is actually doing well, except people misapply financial indiscipline. If you go to the markets, go to north there, a woman buys a bag of charcoal at 60,000 and breaks it down in these small buveras. And by evening, she has made money. She takes back the money from their local circle. So the economy is doing well. Not yet to the level where we want it to be, and people are feeling it. One of the things that are moving very fast in Uganda today are 2 things. People eating processed food, locally processed food. You no longer find a woman on a grinding stone, on a wooden mortar, pounding cassava. They take to the local mill. At the local mill, somebody hulls maize. She takes the flour home. She sells the maize bran. So is rice. So is peanut husks. And they are getting money. So I think that has given people a sense that NRM, President Museveni, are trustable, are trusted. Of course, the mistake.
So because of that, this woman goes to vote.
Of course, the mistake.
President Museveni.
Pardon?
Because of that, she went and voted President
Museveni. Yes, of course, and what you see, while we are giving PDM in the campaigns, Bob Wine was saying is going to remove. Even if this person is given money to improve themselves, and they eat it, they value it. In my village there, when somebody gets his 1 million, what does he do first? He buys pork, he buys the biggest fish in the market, buys a mattress.
That's good.
Although this money is meant for production. Now, for you, if you go and say, Museveni, this money I'm going to remove. Instead of saying, I thought they would say, Museveni is giving you little money. He should give you more money because he can afford giving you more money. But they said we are going to remove. So the mistakes in opposition in the run-up to the election, the 3 major political parties, or 4, disintegrated. The leadership of Mr. Kyagulanyi kicking out the Mpogas the way he did, handled those matters the way he did, I think in Buganda here made many people in Buganda change their mind about his style of leadership. FDC had split mid the road, disintegrated. Ochieno, there were 3 presidents. Consequently, they couldn't even get one of them nominated. So they were not giving direction to their own members. And I think that affected. And then you are asking low turnout of 53% from 59. I think in other parts of Uganda, where at least where I traveled, east and north, there was a general sense that even if I don't go to vote, Museveni has already won this thing, because I did not see the opposition there. I did not see. There is an FDC candidate in my constituency, and a young man, Nope. I'm told he has been a Mason here in Kampala. I don't know him. I don't know his name. I never saw his poster. So I think those combined led to this win, but also the low turnout. In Buganda, this is the first election that NRM won in all regions. All regions. Buganda, NRM won. Busoga, NRM won. Miraculously. Kasese. All the 6 MPs.
All MPs.
From 55 MPs, NUP got in Buganda in the last election. They now have 39. NRM has 57. The whole of Buganda has 102 MPs. NRM took 57. NUP fell. I think NUP is unlikely to cross 50 in this parliament.
In Buganda?
In Uganda.
In the whole country.
In Uganda.
But they have more than 50.
No.
They have 48.
They are more independent.
But they picked. But they picked.
Even in the last parliament.
But they picked Ginger, and 4 in Ginger and 2 in Kagoma and 2.
Thank you. So just conclude so that we get someone else.
No. They have 8 in Busoga.
8 in Busoga. But also that is explainable on account of internal NRM strife in those districts.
Yeah. Thank you. Edgar.
Yes.
71% for NRM.
By the predictions were
by the New Vision published an opinion poll last year June. This was 4 months before nomination, and at that time they said it was 73 for Museveni, 29 for Bobi Wine, I think 2 for the other groups are like that.
Congratulations to NRM. Edgar.
Last year,
that is genuine. I hope that
doesn't
is
have
genuine.
to be. You are
last year.
It doesn't have to be. Wandera when supports Manchester United, when they have their rare win, I said to him, congratulations.
I had to look at the electoral map. The electoral map of Buganda. In 2021, NUP had good performance in the Kato corridor, where Banyarwanda immigrants are a significant number. We were approached by the Banyarwanda community to take on a case for particularly, not just citizenship, because there's an issue of citizenship, Articles 9 and Articles 10 of the Constitution, but in particular, that they were being denied passports, and in some instances, in Dangamuntu. So on second thought going the route of legal redress in court would take long. So we sought audience with President Museveni. We spent 4 hours with him. In that meeting, I saw real leadership and the pragmatism. He picked.
After this show, you are also going to organize an appointment with me,
so
that I also go for 1 hour.
We're lawyers for a community.
When you say these things on radio, so you went and spoke to President Museveni.
No, I'm saying on behalf of the
Ochen has been trying to go and speak on behalf of this side
of the community. All the community. No, come on.
Walugembe also wants to go on behalf of business.
It was public. It was put on Twitter.
Okay,
and in that meeting, the president got the handset and started calling different families from all over the country of Banyarwanda. Sikwabo Cheyune, deep in Ntungamo, deep in Nakaseke. And he got to know where the real issue was. Where the real issue was. In that very meeting, he got the Solicitor General to edit and write and signed in that very meeting an executive order. Believe me, between that meeting and the group picture that we took outside, even Gashumba had been radicalized into a Museveni supporter. Just those few minutes. Yeah, I'm telling you. And if you look at the electoral map of this time round, Museveni has reversed. True, and these are things you won't get elsewhere, by the way. I'm telling you what I saw in person, what I witnessed. Then secondly, Museveni had a head start when he had the PDM tours. 3.4 million households, recipients of PDM funds. Each household has 4.2 million people. I saw intellectuals, pardon? 4.2 people average household. So he on average met 12 million people ahead of the campaign. When Mr. Museveni was touring farms, jumping, Sengenge, to go and supervise piglets, kids of goats, I saw elites laughing at him. These elite who don't vote, the ones who are in Nairobi drinking alcohol, running away from
Moses
that is going to be chaos.
Moses has recruited you. We know all these figures. He regularly tells us. It's just that you have spiced them.
No, but quite frankly,
last sentence, we're going to go for a break.
And Moses is really enjoying it.
I'm giving you from my perspective. These are lived experiences. I saw elite laughing at President Museveni. Man, that was meet the people tour. Okay. By the time we went into the official campaigns, he clearly had a head start. And whoever thought that would work against his fortunes was really lying to themselves.
Let's stop for a quick break.
But I must commend Bobby Wine for building a political party from scratch. Unlike these UPCs, UPC was a splinter group from UNC, FDC was a splinter group from the NRM. Bobby Wine has started from the grassroots, building a ghetto party.
We stop for a break. We'll come back from the break. This is the Capital Gang. We are finishing off about the NRM win. John Kakungulu Walugembe,
First of all, I think NRM had to win. I would be very surprised if they didn't win.
I kept saying, our friend here, Benjamin Katana, that so sorry, we like you, but NRM is going to win.
Yeah, because if a teacher sets an exam and fails it, we would be very surprised. would be very surprised. So an incumbent government has advantages, and it would be absurd if they didn't use those advantages. One of it is, for instance, a PDM tours, which the president used to great effect. And the president has actually campaigned. Our work takes us around the country. But you'd find him like in Jinja, he's in the markets. Then you go to Wundibujo, they say he was here last week, he's coming back. He's really, to be honest, he's really worked hard. And also the campaign seems to have been well organized. The fashion, there was better fashion this time, well designed and so on. So it was a nice fashion. So well designed things. Now, for Buganda, I think Edgar's raised one of the issues, but I would say that Buganda is a melting pot of different people, and most of the issues here are economic. So if government addresses those economic issues, you see a change. So for me, it's not, yes, that's one of the issues, but overall, the issues that drive political activism in Buganda and Central Region, and in the most urbanized areas, including Busoga, most of them are economic in nature. So for me, I would say that yes, we congratulate NRM for winning, But I would also think that in some instances they overdid their hand, even in arresting people they shouldn't arrest, people who are not really consequential. They are not going to affect the election one or the other.
It's something I've had arguments.
Sometimes exaggerating
Moses
security
here
threats
on radio here. You are going to win. Even when Katana was here, we are going to win. So why beat them?
Yeah.
Why beat them?
So you are simply tainting
and
your
Moses
victory.
said he predicted that they
You're
would win.
simply
So
going to taint your victory. So in my view, therefore, I would say that what the president needs to do, I find the president to be an individual who wants to work for his success.
Okay.
That kind of effort he puts in shows that he really wants to work for his success.
Yeah.
And I think what his task is to remove people who exaggerate threats, say that because of budgets or what, and then you arrest these young people most of whom are driven by economic issues, as I've told you. They have no jobs and so on. So instead of creating opportunity, again you look at them as organized political threats. So for me, I would say that going forward, if you remove that, the NRM would win anyway. Because if you look at the regional bloc, if you look at TESO, it came to NRMs. No one disputes that. If you look at West Nile, if you look at the North, if you look at Kasese, so NRM would have to win. They've worked for it. But they should avoid tainting that victory with some of these things that don't add value. Yeah.
And for once, Sofonopan has agreed with you. So, Joseph.
It's said that good businessmen make good politicians, but it's not necessarily the reverse.
Joseph, the Olugeme says the president worked hard, and he went to these markets and so on. He went to the plantations, and there's a guy you just praised him for starting. Can he go to a market? Immediately say you disrupted the market.
No, the guy has been working hard for his.
No, the opposition. Can he go into a market, or they'd say he's disrupting?
Which opposition? Which opposition?
Like Bobby Wine, can he enter a market?
No, I know.
Interacting with the piglets.
I know of my party, and by the way, Edgar, in a different context, referred to the 1980 elections, general elections campaigns, comparing Semugero and Milton Obote. And Edgar, I'll always praise you for that. He talks about how old Milton was down there in Bundibujo, pushing for votes. So if you want to contextualize that, then the nearest to a mini credit I can give to Comrade Museveni is that was relative, and in any case Museveni have learned
Can
out of
Bobby
that.
Wine go into a market now and say I'm meeting with market people?
I hope he's able to. Moses, ideally I expect him to be able to do so, but maybe this is actually the politics.
Maybe you are very optimistic.
Maybe this is the politics of personalities, and it's a difficult one. And I remember in one of the shows when I was here with a few friends from NUP, I think people sometimes get a little bit uncomfortable. The truth is that personalities matter, minus Museveni. That a political opposition, as we are today, we must acknowledge that we need to be able to have men and women at the heart of our leadership who are able to go beyond Kampala, go and engage citizens and wow them enough for them to follow us tomorrow. Beyond really the traditional music, charisma around the numbers that we have about political perception. And you can see I'm going round and round without pointing fingers. It is generally the case that going around the country in the last 5 years, I sensed that we did not, as opposition, have sufficient grounding for various reasons in grassroots polity. Whether or not, therefore, we can go ahead and credit Mr. Museveni and his PDM team, that I think I would slightly defer. To his credit, from 1966, he's been pushing his agenda for his skill, which he has perfected. And that is, the guy goes around the country campaigning, and it's true that guys in opposition don't see that he's doing that. Ofono, I would have congratulated you guys, if what happened in the first 1 month of presidential campaigns continued, that Chagulanyi and others were not rounded up and beaten up, that crude thing in Kiruhure did not happen, that unfortunate, unacceptable thing in Gulu did not happen, that the videos going around where particular individuals, you talked about disruption, that these videos that go around showing ballot papers being ticked for particular candidates and individuals did not show up. And that, above all, that you did not panic and hold Ugandans completely, in contempt by shutting down internet 2 days beyond that. You know what, Edgar? Had this been a civil, open democracy, had civil polity gone into the heads of many of these people, the NRA would have been punished at the ballot box as a result of for having shut down internet, because they completely disregarded public opinion and the interests of the ordinary citizens, their arrogance. But because of the nature, and Moses, that's where I'm coming. So
you're aware of the figures, the numbers of internet penetration in Uganda?
No, in terms of it is not about internet.
It's mainly middle class.
You're contradicting yourself. The guys who use mobile phones and mobile money and access this in markets in Mvura, in very small places, is huge.
Yes, I agree.
Just because they turned it off, and just because they used the politics of fear and uncertainty, which even if one was able to persuade me that possibly there are issues enough for us to be able to turn off this, we genuinely don't know what happened between that day when they turned off this thing to the polling date. The manner in which opposition politicians had been disorganized, it is possible to suggest that maybe NRA candidates knew what was going to happen, and so they prepared and planned for their agents and others. And that on this occasion, maybe while the internet was off, we don't know what the security services were doing. We don't know what these army guys sometimes were looking very, very, very. They're very smart guys, army men, and few women. They're very smart. But when you find them down here in Kalerwe roundabout, and you don't know what they're doing, it is possible that some of these people may be associated with people who ballot staffed, for NRA. So the point where I agree with everybody else is that it was likely, particularly for Mr. Museveni, to win anyway. But possibly the win would have been possibly 53, 4, 5. 53. Now, push it the other way around. Where I agree also is, Oscar, if I look at Nagongera and I look at my experiences in Zombo and I talk to people one-on-one, Moses, you're my student, of course, in these things, in terms of public consultation, these things. And by this, some of these samples do work, and I totally agree with that. It's quite impressive.
Just a minute.
You can easily taste public opinion and how the numbers are going to be able to play. I actually saw that it was a difficult push for the numbers to be 50-50. And I know some listeners may not necessarily agree on this, but this is a part of my full-time job that I do. Whether or not it's 71% on the basis of whatever happened today, I genuinely don't know. And to the extent that you do it and then you lock up people like my good friend Sarah Birete simply because of fear and you can't explain it. Unfortunately, your victory today is as crudely bad, as the nearest thing can be compared with, and it has thankfully exonerated UPC's victory of 1980, that, the worst election, that has ever happened is 2026 plus 2021.
So previously the worst election was 1980.
The best, that was the best election since independence, yeah.
He actually nearly said as crudely as. Derek, you're on microphone.
I listen to the people in this.
John has put it well, that you are the teacher and then you fail your own exam.
I listen to people in this studio, and of course I have a lot of admiration about them. But as a person who is on ground, sometimes interacting with the real people, the real voters, I think if you people just took time to double check some of the things, probably you'll come here with a different mindset. We are glossing about President Museveni going around to supervise PDM, to supervise the 4-acre model, to supervise those initiatives that he has created. In my news, where I work at Daily Monitor, one of the stories that made President Museveni chase us from his entourage was because we wrote the real truth that we saw on ground. The 4-acre model, where a woman just stood up and said, all these things that people are saying are not real. This thing is not working out for us. And when we wrote that story, we have never been allowed to go and cover President Museveni anymore. And so many stories have we picked about PDM. But hey, let's be just fair to Ugandans. How many times have we seen an opposition politician in this country just allowed to step a foot out of their house to go and mobilize? Like, let's just be fair. Other than us coming here to say he campaigned, he was and Oscar asked a question that was very pertinent. If you're saying that President Museveni was in the markets in Ntungamo, in the markets in Jinja and stuff like that, which day can you ever see on earth that Bobby Wine is in a market mobilizing market people to vote for him? That's mobilization is part of politics. No, I'm saying
in fact,
President Museveni did go
around doing what?
Yes.
So, but what was President Museveni doing?
What was he doing?
The program he has implemented.
So the leader of opposition party can go and inspect the president's program.
Advantage. Let us not really grow.
Which is okay. Which is okay to have, but. Bobby Wine moves from Kampala.
Edgar, don't miss the point. He's saying if the president is inspecting his projects,
yes,
can an opposition party go and inspect the president's projects?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. You know, that's what.
And inspect the president's projects. Yes.
President's projects to see where the Ugandan's money is going. But also, Bobby Wine leaves Kampala to just go in Mbale to open up just an office.
Yes.
Their upcountry office, and is going to be tear gassed from Mbale through Jinja to back to his house in Magere. And one thing
you only have microphone on.
And one thing I want us to agree about is, of course, everyone is going to agree there is no leveled ground for all these politicians. There is no leveled ground. Of course, the president has an advantage as an incumbent and stuff like that. But will you let the other people also use their space, their political space, their civic area and stuff? You get? So the campaign comes here, and I will tell you that how many times was he tear gassed? How many times was his supporters beaten? And we are not counting all this. We are just saying President Museveni campaigned, President Museveni worked so hard. There is a body to everything that we see here, that then we have allowed only one person to move across the country. This one who is not allowed,
president, and he uses that advantage.
Yeah, he uses that advantage, and he has allowed for a democracy. If he has allowed for democracy, then let all the other people be given equal playing space.
Derek, you're the active reporter in the studio. So just in these last 13 minutes,
Derek
listen to the question. It is small, but listen to the question. So, what is the latest update with Dr. Kizza Besigye?
So, Dr. Kizza Besigye
has been trending in the news this week.
2 days ago, I think, reports came out from the leaders of PFF, and also his wife did a press conference saying that Dr. Kizza Besigye had been rushed out of hospital in the wee hours of the morning or in the middle of the night into a clinic or a hospital in Bugolobi because his life, his health had been deteriorating or had deteriorated. And I saw Frank Baine, the spokesperson of prisons, immediately quashing the information that was coming through, saying this was just one of an official routine checkup in hospital. And I wondered why the routine checkup had to be in the middle of the night, unless someone is a night dancer or something. But so Dr. Kizza Besigye's health is said to be very, very bad. He's in bad health. And at least as the reports and from immediate family members, from fellow leaders and his colleagues who have visited him, who have seen him, have reported, have given us information that he's not in good health. In fact, that afternoon, I was in office and Ndugu Wafulogutu called me and told me, Derek, this is what's happening and stuff like that. So we had to go. We had to report about it from what the family members were telling us. I know that prisons has since denied the fact that he's in critical condition. His health is in critical condition. But we go with what family members have told us and also what the prisons have told us. But one wondered, and the question was, if it was a routine medical checkup, was it misarranged for him to go in the middle of the night, or that was the routine that he has to go and get medication at 3 a.m. in the night? Yep.
Ofonopono, former government spokesman. Do you have any news?
Former senior journalist.
Former senior.
You remain a senior journalist, by the way.
Actually, you remain, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm one
day I said active journalist only.
And with the Charles Onyango Bo, probably Buembo will remain the longest column writers.
Yeah, Joachim Buembo.
Now, first of all, Kizza Besigye's health issues.
Come to the microphone.
While in prison, has been a long choreographed narrative. You remember 2006, the wife said Kizza Besigye was going to be poisoned. They raised health issues. Then, since Kizza Besigye was brought back from Kenya on 24th November the other year.
I like the way you say brought back.
Brought back, yeah.
Yeah, he's using words carefully.
His lawyers, on record in court, and all the press conferences they have held, they have been saying Kizza Besigye is about to die. He's about to die. And remember, the reason they're applying for bail has been mostly on healthy ground. So I think it is a narrative that they have chosen in order to obtain bail, but also to win public sympathy. Obviously, routine ought to be during the day. But if someone says, I am not feeling well, would you not take him in the middle of the night?
No, that's not
simply because the routine is supposed to be during the day. So I think it is a narrative meant to attract public sympathy, especially.
So you don't believe it?
I don't believe it.
Okay.
Especially, I have no reason to doubt what the prison authority says, because they are the ones who have been keeping him. And you remember, one of the things they have said, to quote, that they have sufficient capacity to take care of any of his medical needs. And it is on the basis of the prison statement that court has declined to agree with his lawyers, Martha Karua, former Lord Mayor, and so on and so forth. So, I think it is a choreographed thing, but of course, health is health. Somebody can deteriorate anytime, even when you are good now, in the next minute. But I think it's a choreograph.
Thank you. Edgar Tabaro.
It's very known that he has been ignored throughout this.
Quite frankly, I've not followed the Kizza Besigye's debates. Wow. Even I've been in Burundi and
you've spoken like a true lawyer, good lawyer.
Burundi, you follow Lord Denning's ruling.
He's with Lord Denning, and he has not followed Kizza Besigye. Moses Biarahanga, Kizza Besigye.
I have nothing to report on Kizza Besigye, but I wanted to respond to what Wande was talking about.
Let me finish his Kizza Besigye and come back to you. Joseph, Kizza Besigye.
It's extremely unfortunate that Kizza Besigye was kidnapped from Kenya and brought into the hands of the military, used him, and now we went through processes, ended up in Luzira. And as a former leader of a political party and a former personal doctor to Mr. Museveni, whatever he has done, I don't know the details, but between what the family reports and what the media reports, it's quite clearly the case that Kizza Besigye is not a well man. Like we said on the question of internet, even if Kizza Besigye, had planned as true, that maybe he sought to do whatever he did, including possibly overthrowing this NRA regime or carrying out treasonable acts, whatever it is. I think the decent thing would be, if I were president, would be to make sure that Kizza Besigye is given a decent opportunity to go get maybe put under house arrest at his home, and he has the privileges of his life, and then if he's to be taken to go ahead and meet the necessary thing. At the moment, it looks like a clear something which is almost close to personal and almost. I think it's distasteful whatever's happening.
Philip says, please tell Mr. Tabaro that Lord Denning's 1977 dicta has no place in post-1995 Uganda. Under our constitution, limitation of rights must be demonstrably justifiable in a free and democratic society. A blanket statement of national security doesn't cut it. And there have been plots and subplots, bring them to court.
We shall meet in court.
and Moses and John, I will not allow you, since you've said you don't wish to talk about Kizza Besigye. At least you are better than Edgar, who says he knows nothing.
I said I've not been following.
Yeah, that's what you have said.
You have insufficient information. Okay.
No, people,
because you know nothing.
Article 29 of the Constitution gives expression. I mean...
I've left you alone. After gang, I'm going to ask you how to go to meet the president.
Moses will gladly, if it's about delivering more
your own
votes,
microphone, and John Kakumura.
If it's about delivering votes in 2031 for President Museveni, Moses will organize that audience.
Moses and microphone.
Well, I want to respond to what Derek mentioned. You see, if I've heard people who have been criticizing PDM, and for him he says, I think they're the one who misled the young man Bobby Wine. When no, this has been covering them. He has admitted here.
Is he also a member?
Is he?
Fine. He's entitled to his opinion.
Moses, let me read something for you as a criticism of PDM. Message came with it. The use of PDM money as a winning trick against the opposition is evidence of the mediocrity of the ruling party for a win. We have a transactional government, according to Andrew Mwenda, instead of a forward-looking government that needs double-digit growth to emerge from where we are.
You see, we have been the NRM is a mass party. It takes a mass line. We have been talking about getting people out of poverty for the last so many years. Starting with Ntandikwa, Gawale, all that has been progressive. Today, when you hear of coffee exports going up both in volume and amount of money, it's because of those programs. And I've been asking you, who grows coffee in Uganda? Ordinary people. So when you hear that the coffee boom, volumes have gone up, who is earning that money? It is Ugandans. And this has been part of our line. So even the PDM was improvement on how we are giving out those seedlings. Because we were saying, people are complaining that these people just come and dump seedlings at the trading center and blah, blah, blah. We said, okay, let's give you money. You buy for yourself. So it's a continuous program of getting people out of poverty. And for instance, we have never said where we have not won, we didn't have similar programs. Here in Uganda, we did win in the last election, PDM has been progressive. In the whole of Uganda, we have so far put in 627 billion under PDM, benefiting about 500,000 plus households, notwithstanding that they are not voted for NRM. So, and it was being supervised by the chairpersons of NUP who are here in Uganda. They were supervising it. So it was a program for the whole country. So it was not politicized. It was intentional that the Ugandans, that's why the economy is partly strong. So when people get money in the PDM, they employ other people. So it's creating jobs. One project creates like 2 jobs. But when they earn income from that money, they are spending it in the economy. When they spend in the economy, when we were writing a manifesto, we talked to Aga Sekalala, the chairperson of UMA. He said the capacity utilization of the factories under UMA is at 56%. Now, why? Because of the small market. So, but now PDM, when people earn money, they buy locally produced goods. They're expanding the market of Uganda. So the people in UMA will find that their capacity utilization will go up. People like Warugembe who are in trade, they will sell more to people who have income, with disposable income, and this creates jobs. For us, it is deliberate. If somebody thinks that now here, let me end this. Wanda was saying, because they reported something, or one said, okay, you go and carry out, if you are for a focused paper, and journalist, you can carry out your own research. I can give you all the names of PDM beneficiaries in the whole country. You go and look.
Derek, take it up.
You can take it up and find out for yourself.
Thank you, Moses.
Yeah.
John Kakungulu Lugeme, final word on gang.
I think
what should we expect?
I think the final word is to say that now that NRM has been voted as our government, I think they have a duty to continue addressing the issues that affect ordinary Ugandans. We need to create an environment to make it easier for our young people to start businesses. We need to make it easier for people in poverty to transition. PDM is one program, but it has its deficiencies. But I was telling people, even if those recipients, the issue is, have they received the money? Even if they ate it, still they'll spend it in the community. So on the whole, it contributes to increasing aggregate demand. So those programs like PDM, I think government should do more, but seek to address the other bottlenecks, issues around access to finance, issues around the regulatory environment. How do you improve that? How do you ensure that people add value and process? I see we focused a lot on production, which is a good thing, but as a country, we need to start processing. Let's promote more cottage industries, more small-scale industries, so that as a country, we can export more processed products.
Thank you so much, the listeners of the Capital Gang. Thank you, Star Cafe, for powering the gang. Thank you, Mega Yogurt. When Moses is here, we do have Mega Yogurt. Thank you. You tackle him on that one. Why does he bring only when he comes? You tackle him on that one. Thank you, Edgar Tabaro from Burundi, John Kakungulu Walugembe, Honorable Fonopondo, Joseph Otieno, ever optimistic, Derek Wandera, Moses Sharahanga, thank you so much. Continue following us on our social media platforms. It is not our fault that you couldn't get the Capital Gang ever. Wait for the recording. We have no hand in internet provision. I am Oscar Semwe Amsoke, and I shall see you next week.